Hi, I'm Caleb, 29, and 3 weeks ago, I walked in on my fiancée giving her number to a wedding photographer, our wedding photographer. That should have been the worst part of my week. It wasn't. Because the next day, I found out I'm not who I thought I was. Literally. It started with a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual paper envelope slipped under my apartment door in Manhattan like it was 1987. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in block letters. Inside, a single sheet of paper, lined notebook paper, folded 4 times. Caleb, I need to see you. It's urgent. Bring nothing. Tell no one. 3 p.m. sharp. Bench number 7, Riverside Park. This concerns your birth mother. A friend. I almost laughed out loud. Was this a joke? I mean, sure, I was adopted, but I'd made peace with that years ago. My parents were amazing people who gave me a life filled with every possible kind of love, plus a decent trust fund and a disturbingly detailed spreadsheet on IRA contributions. I wasn't looking for anything else. Still, something about the letter. I couldn't let it go. The way my name was written, the way this C in Caleb curved back slightly, like the way I used to do it in 2nd grade. No one else would know that. Except, apparently, someone who did. So I went. Bench number 7 was halfway down the main path near the Hudson, facing a duck pond that smelled vaguely of wet socks and nostalgia. I got there at 2:55 p.m. and sat. At 3:01, a woman in a navy trench coat and oversized sunglasses approached. Early 40s, maybe? Hair tucked up under a baseball cap. She looked like someone trying not to be recognized, which made her instantly suspicious and also kind of successful, because I didn't recognize her. You came, she said, not sitting. Apparently, I replied. She handed me a manila envelope, thicker than I expected. She didn't know how else to tell you. It's all in there. Letters. Medical records. Pictures. But Caleb, her voice dropped. What you do with it is going to change everything. I'd opened my mouth to speak, but she turned and disappeared into the crowd of dog walkers and joggers like a reverse Batman. So now I'm sitting there, envelope in lap, hard hammering like a jackhammer on Red Bull, knowing I'm about to dig up a past I never asked for. And I haven't even told you the weird part yet. Because when I opened that envelope, the first photo was of me, age 6. Standing in front of a Christmas tree. In someone else's house. With a woman I'd never seen before holding my shoulders like she loved me. Like she owned me. And scrawled across the bottom of the photo, in red pen. You were never supposed to be theirs. I didn't sleep that night. I mean, how do you sleep after reading 27 letters from a woman claiming to be your real mother? Not a scammer. Not a rando off the street. A woman who knew things, intimate things, about my life, my childhood, even the dumb little scar on my elbow from when I tripped over a sprinkler head in 2nd grade. The one my adoptive parents always swore happened during a playground accident. But this woman, Maria, wrote about how I'd cried so hard in the hospital they had to give me a popsicle to calm me down. Grape. She hated grape, she wrote. Said it reminded her of cough syrup and bad news. Her first letter was dated October 1999. I was 3. They told me I had to forget you. That I'd signed the papers fair and square. But I didn't. I never forgot. I watched from afar. I kept everything, every article, every school play program, every public photo. They made me disappear, Caleb. But I never really left. She claimed she'd been forced to give me up under extraordinary pressure. From people she wouldn't name. Powerful people, she said. People who had plans for me. Who decided where I should go and who I should become. Like I was a pawn in some life-size chess match and everyone else knew the rules except me. By letter 7, I'd started pacing my apartment like a caged animal. By letter 15, I was Googling her name with shaking fingers. Maria Thorne. There were hits. An old psychology journal from 1996, a court case dismissed under sealed records, and one blurry yearbook photo from some now-defunct women's college in Massachusetts. But the creepiest thing? She didn't exist after 2001. Like nothing. No death certificate. No social media. No property records. Just vanished. And yet, here she was, sending letters through a trench-coat courier and warning me about my entire identity being a lie. The next morning I called my mom, adoptive mom, and tried to keep my voice casual. "Hey, random question. Did you ever meet my birth mother? Like once?" There was a pause on the other end. Not a long one, but just long enough to register as loaded silence. "Honey," she said carefully, "you know we adopted you through a closed process. We were told your birth mother didn't want contact. Why do you ask?" I almost told her right then. Almost. But something stopped me. Not guilt. Not loyalty. Fear. That if I told her, I'd lose any chance of getting the truth from either side. Instead, I said, "No reason. Just curious." I hung up and stared at the manila envelope on my counter like it was radioactive. And then I made another mistake. I went back to bench number 7. No one was there. But in the exact same spot where she'd stood the day before, was a flash drive. Just sitting there on the wood, like someone had dropped it casually while feeding ducks. I looked around. Nothing but tourists and strollers and a guy in cargo shorts aggressively eating a protein bar. I pocketed the drive and bolted. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop. And there it was. A video file. Titled 1998, Ward C. It opened on grainy surveillance footage. Timestamped. A woman, young, long brown hair, pale, was pacing a room in what looked like a hospital gown. She kept glancing toward the window like someone was watching. Her arms were wrapped protectively around her abdomen. At 2 minutes and 19 seconds, 2 men in suits entered the room. Not orderlies. Not doctors. Suits. They talked to her, but there was no sound. She shook her head violently, then dropped to her knees. One man grabbed her by the arm. The other handed her a clipboard. At 4 minutes and 12 seconds, she signed something. The camera zoomed in slightly. The name on the document? Maria Thorne. At 4 minutes and 58 seconds, they took the clipboard and wheeled in a bassinet. With a baby inside. She started screaming. She reached for the baby, but they pushed her back. They took the bassinet and walked out. She collapsed on the floor. The file ended there. I sat in total silence, just breathing. That baby was me. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew. The same way you know your own face in the mirror. The same way you know when someone's lying. And suddenly, the biggest question wasn't whether Maria was my mother. It was who those men were. And why the hell they'd wanted to erase her from my life. I don't panic easily. I've handled blown deadlines, last-minute investors, and once accidentally delivered a pitch with my zipper down in front of 200 people. But that night, sitting in the dark with my laptop still glowing from that video, my hands were sweating. My chest was tight. My entire existence felt hijacked. Because let's just be clear, I had watched myself, infant me, get taken from a woman who was clearly in a psych ward, surrounded by men who looked like they worked for the CIA's evil twin. And now she was sending me letters. 27 of them. With details only a mother could know. I called in sick the next day. Couldn't show up to work like, "Hey team, we're pivoting to enterprise software and also I might be part of a government conspiracy. How's your Tuesday?" Instead I dug deep. I started with the facility watermark stamped in the corner of the surveillance footage. Silver Pine Psychiatric Institute. Never heard of it. Not in New York. Not even Google knew what it was. But then I found it, buried in an archived article from a 2002 digital newsletter of some obscure patient advocacy group. Silver Pine, once a state-funded mental health facility in upstate New York, closed abruptly in late 1999 following a series of whistleblower allegations about unethical treatment practices and missing patient records. The lead whistleblower, Dr. Henry C. Maddox, died in a car accident less than a year later. No charges were ever filed. Missing patient records. Whistleblower death. Facility closure. My birth mother pacing a room in that very building. Yeah, I was fully spiraling now. I checked the envelope again. Maria had mentioned Dr. Maddox in one of the letters. Letter number 18. Dr. Maddox was the only one who treated me like a human. He said what was happening wasn't just illegal, it was monstrous. He was trying to get you back to me. But he disappeared. I know now he was silenced. Okay. Okay. What was happening? I needed a second opinion, someone I trusted, someone smart enough to see what I might be missing. So I called Noah. Noah is my best friend, a data analyst with the social skills of a cardboard box, but a brain that runs faster than most high-speed trains. We met in college when I vomited during econ midterms, and he offered me his own hoodie. He still wears sandals with socks, but I trust him with my life. You need to come over, I said, my voice low. Why? Did she say yes? He asked, assuming this was about the wedding. No. Just come. Noah showed up 20 minutes later with a protein shake and a very confused expression. I dumped everything on the table, letters, photos, flash drive, and waited as he read. His eyes flicked back and forth faster than I could track. At one point, he actually whispered, "Holy SH," and then just kept going. This is insane, he said finally, after letter number 19. Like Cold War spy thriller insane. Am I crazy? I asked, needing someone to reality check me. Noah didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, No. But someone wanted your mother to look that way. He opened his laptop and started typing like a man possessed. You said Maria's file from the institute is missing. What about her medical license? She was a licensed psychologist, right? Yeah, I think so. Before all this. Noah kept typing. Okay, there's a Maria Thorne listed in the 1995 State Psychology Board Registry. Practicing license active. Office listed as, oh weird, Bellevue Hospital. But then, nothing. Vanishes in 98. No revocation. No suspension. Just poof. He turned his screen to show me. It was her. Same woman from the video. Same wary eyes. Can you track who requested her record sealed? I asked. Not unless I want a visit from Men in Black. I'm serious, Noah. So am I, he said grimly. There was a knock at the door. We both froze. It was 11:06 p.m. I motioned for Noah to kill the lights. He did. We sat there like kids in a horror movie, holding our breath. Another knock. And then a voice. Caleb Morgan? A woman. Calm. Crisp. I'm Agent Elise Ward. I need to speak with you. Please open the door. Agent. Not officer. Not detective. Agent. Noah mouthed. Do not open it. But something told me if I didn't, she'd find a way in anyway. So I cracked the door just enough to see her face. Early 40s. Dark blazer. Professional but casual enough to blend in. Not trench coat creepy like Maria's contact, but close. She held up a badge. Department of Homeland Security. May I come in? Noah was already shaking his head behind me like an overworked bobblehead. I stepped outside instead. If this is about my mother, we need to talk somewhere more secure, she interrupted. We believe your life may be in danger. My spine locked up. From who? She took a long breath and said something I'll never forget. From the same people who raised you. You're going to need to be more specific, I said, crossing my arms to hide the fact that they were starting to shake. Agent Ward scanned the hallway behind me like she expected a sniper to burst out of the utility closet. Not here. There's a car downstairs. You have 10 seconds to decide. I didn't move. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what the hell is going on. She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and held it up to my face. On screen was a grainy surveillance photo, me, from yesterday, sitting on bench number 7 in Riverside Park, envelope in hand. Another tap. Another photo. This time, Noah, entering my building half an hour ago. What the how did you? We've been tracking that bench for months, she said calmly. It's a known dead drop location for an informant we've been trying to identify. You showing up there, twice, put you on our radar. You're not in trouble, Caleb. But you're caught in something very old and very dangerous. So if you value your life, and the lives of people close to you, you'll come with me. Now, that last part wasn't a threat. It was a fact. Her voice didn't waver. Her eyes didn't blink. This woman wasn't dramatic. She was just telling me the forecast, 90% chance of assassination with scattered betrayal. So yeah, I got in the car. Noah tried to follow me, but I gave him a signal to stay. He didn't like it, but he trusted me enough to let me go. The car was a black Suburban, naturally, and smelled faintly of eucalyptus and secrets. I'm going to give you a name, Agent Ward said once we were moving. Tell me if you've ever heard it before. I nodded. The Grafton Protocol. I blinked. Sounds like a Robert Ludlum sequel. Should I have heard of it? I'd be surprised if you had. It was officially dismantled in 2001. But unofficially. She let the silence do the heavy lifting. You're saying I was part of a government program? I asked. Like, sleeper agent stuff? Not exactly, she said, turning in her seat to face me. The Grafton Protocol was a behavioral engineering initiative. Think nature versus nurture, but with a budget and no ethics committee. I'm going to need you to talk like I don't have a clearance level. She nodded. In the mid-'80s, a think tank funded by several federal contractors started exploring ways to create optimized citizens, children raised in hyper-controlled environments with curated genetic and psychological traits. Intelligence, resilience, adaptability, low emotional volatility. The idea was to embed them into society and track long-term outcomes. See which variables produce the most ideal outcomes for leadership, innovation, and public loyalty. Jesus. Yeah. They thought they were building a better future. Instead, they built kids who didn't know who they really were. And parents who weren't really parents. I swallowed hard. So you're telling me, my mom and dad were recruited, heavily vetted, part of the program, chosen not just to raise a child, but to raise you. The car was suddenly too warm. My throat dry. So I'm, what? Some lab rat in a social science experiment? Not exactly. You weren't grown in a test tube, Caleb. You were born. Naturally. But your mother, Maria Thorne, was considered a high-risk variable. Too emotionally attached. Too vocal about her rights. When she refused to sign full parental release, they had her committed. They. Who is they? Ward looked at me like I'd asked her to name all the stars in the sky. No one group. Grafton was compartmentalized. Funded through shell orgs, hidden inside research grants, backed by people you've definitely heard of but will never trace directly. And you? I asked. What, are you one of the good guys? Her jaw tensed. I used to think so. I joined DHS to dismantle programs like Grafton. What they did to children, what they did to you, was criminal. But the cleanup was incomplete. Someone's still out there. Keeping tabs. Silencing leaks. Making sure you never find out who you really are. We pulled into an underground garage and stopped. She looked at me. You're not safe, Caleb. Not anymore. The minute you opened that envelope, you set something in motion. Who sent it to me? Maria? She shook her head. Maria died in 2005. I felt the words hit like a punch. No. That's not right. She sent me letters. The video. She's alive. No, Ward said gently. Those were planted. Old letters she wrote while institutionalized. Someone has access to the archive. They're trying to rattle you. Push you into the open. I stared at her, trying to reconcile the woman I'd imagined with the story I was now being told. So who the hell is trying to help me? She hesitated. That's the thing, she said. We don't know. Just then, her phone buzzed. She checked it. Her face changed. Pale. Controlled panic. We have to move, she said. What? Why? She didn't answer. She opened the door and pulled me by the arm. And that's when I saw it. A second SUV. Same make. Same model. Pulling into the garage. Only this one wasn't slowing down. It was speeding up. Right toward us. I didn't have time to scream. Agent Ward shoved me behind a concrete pillar so fast my spine cracked, then pulled a Glock from beneath her blazer like this was just another Tuesday. The other SUV screeched across the garage, tires shrieking, headlights blinding, and then 3 doors flew open. Men in dark tactical gear spilled out like a SWAT team with 0 insignias. Not law enforcement. Not DHS. Ghosts. Run! Ward barked. She didn't have to tell me twice. We sprinted through the garage, weaving between cars, Ward laying down cover fire as bullets pinged off metal all around us. One shattered the side mirror of a Lexus I could never afford. I ducked behind a van, adrenaline pounding so hard I could taste it. "What the hell is going on?" I shouted, panting. "They found us," she said grimly. "Faster than I thought. That means someone inside DHS tipped them off." I wanted to ask who, but then one of the masked men shouted, "Ward, hand over the asset." The asset? That was me, apparently. "Caleb," Ward said urgently, crouching beside me. "Listen to me. You need to get out of here. Take my phone. Go to this address." She scribbled something on a receipt from her pocket with trembling hands. "Do not go back to your apartment. Don't contact anyone. Don't trust anyone. Not even." Another shot rang out. It hit the pillar above her shoulder, raining concrete dust down on us. "Go!" I bolted. I didn't look back. Not when I heard more gunfire. Not when I heard someone scream. I didn't even know if it was Ward. I ran out a side exit into an alley, stumbled onto 87th Street, and kept running until my lungs gave out. 30 minutes later, I ducked into a coffee shop bathroom, locked the door, and finally allowed myself to breathe. Barely. Ward's phone was a basic burner, old Android model. No apps. Just a keypad and a contacts list with one saved number. Red House. I checked the address she gave me. A brownstone in Harlem. No name, just a street and number scrawled in Sharpa like something out of a spy movie. I sat there on the toilet lid, shaking, soaked in sweat, the receipt trembling in my hand. The barista knocked twice. "Hey man, everything okay in there?" I flushed the toilet to buy time. "Yeah. Bad burrito. Give me a sec." I left out the back door. The brownstone looked completely normal. 3 stories, ivy on the brick, a cracked cement stoop. No signs, no cameras, no guard dogs. But something about it felt watched. I rang the bell. Nothing. I rang again. Then I heard it, 3 clicks. Mechanical. Rhythmic. From inside the door. Then a voice. "Caleb Morgan?" I froze. "Yes?" The door opened. A man in a cardigan stood there, maybe mid-60s, white beard, gentle eyes, holding a cup of tea like he'd just come from a faculty lounge. "Come in," he said. Quickly. I hesitated, every cell in my body screaming "do not enter the murder house," but then I remembered the SUV. The gunfire. Agent Ward's face. So I stepped inside. The door locked behind me with a series of mechanical clinks that sounded too complicated to just be for safety. "My name is Dr. Edwin Langley," the man said. "And I'm here because your life depends on you knowing the truth." "Then tell me," I said, hard hammering. He led me through a sitting room lined with books and maps, into a back study that looked like it hadn't changed since the Cold War. He sat. Offered me tea. I declined. My hands were shaking too hard. "Caleb," he began, "you weren't just part of Grafton. You were the experiment. The control variable." "What the hell does that mean?" "Grafton operated on the belief that human potential could be maximized through constructed parenting. Every child in the program was placed into carefully selected homes, engineered for optimal outcomes. But you were different." He opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder. Not unlike the one I got from the park. Inside, files. Dozens. Reports. Photos. DNA profiles. You were placed with a couple that failed the psychological screening. But someone with authority, overrode the placement. You were their wild card. The chaos factor. Why? To test whether nature could override nurture. To see if, despite suboptimal conditions, your genetics would produce an exceptional outcome. My throat went dry. "And did it?" Langley smiled sadly. "You're still alive, aren't you? You're resilient. Hyperadaptive. Scored in the top 0.1 percentile in standardized testing, skipped a grade, and demonstrated low emotional volatility under stress. You're Grafton's worst fear and greatest proof." Worst fear? Because you weren't supposed to find out. No one was. I stood. I need answers. Who's after me? Why now? Langley steepled his fingers. Because someone on the inside is tying up loose ends. Agent Ward was one. Dr. Maddox was another. And Maria Thorne, your birth mother, she wasn't just a patient. He handed me a photo. Maria. Standing beside Langley. In a lab coat. She was one of Grafton's lead architects. Until she got pregnant with you. And refused to let you become their lab rat. I staggered back, nearly knocking over a globe. Langley rose, suddenly very serious. They won't stop until you're silenced, Caleb. Because you're not just proof the experiment worked. He leaned in, voice low. You're proof it should never have existed at all. I didn't sit. Couldn't. My brain was trying to sprint a marathon while my body stood frozen in Langley's dusty study, surrounded by books that smelled like conspiracy and despair. My mother worked for Grafton. I finally managed. She wasn't a patient. She wasn't unstable. She wasn't. Unstable? Langley repeated sharply. No. Brilliant. Driven. The kind of mind that makes governments nervous. She didn't have a breakdown, she had a revelation. She realized what the program truly intended. And what was that? Langley hesitated, and that scared me more than gunfire in the parking garage. Grafton started with one goal: create high-functioning citizens. But someone, several someones, wanted something else. They saw potential for something far darker. I folded my arms, partly to look tougher, mostly to keep from shaking. Like what? He studied me for a long moment before answering. A generation of programmable leaders. My stomach dropped. Leaders? People who'd rise naturally through society. Become CEOs, judges, innovators, policymakers. All carefully selected, shaped, and monitored. Children raised with no knowledge of their real origins. Loyalty crafted, not chosen. I stared at him. And how does any of that involve me? You were the variable, Caleb. You said that before, but I don't. You were the one they didn't control. Langley said quietly. The one child born outside their ownership. Maria refused to sign the genetic rights agreement. They tried to force her. She fought back. She threatened to go public. So they locked her up. They did worse. Langley said, voice tightening. They discredited her. Removed her. Secured you. And inserted you into a home where nothing tied you back to her. My parents had no idea? None. They thought they were adopting through a private agency. I ran my hands through my hair. You said they're trying to clean up loose ends. What does that mean for me? He didn't soften it. People like Langley don't soften anything. It means they're done observing you. Now they're eliminating variables. I sat down hard this time. Why now? I whispered. Langley left the room for a moment and returned holding a thin file, so thin it felt dangerous. Because, he said, placing it on the desk, something happened 3 months ago. He opened it and turned it toward me. A news clipping. A headline. Senator Harker found dead in apparent suicide. Below it, a photo of a stern-looking man in his 60s. Names sounded vaguely familiar, some committee hearings I'd seen on TV, maybe. But then Langley tapped one line in the article. Harker was the last surviving member of the Joint Behavioral Oversight Committee that oversaw early iterations of the Grafton Protocol. I looked up at Langley. You're saying he didn't kill himself? Of course he didn't. He was taken out. Just like Ward was about to be. Just like Maddox. Just like Maria. I felt my pulse in my tongue. My fingertips. Everywhere. Why didn't they kill me years ago if I was so dangerous? Because you were quiet, Langley said. Content. Unaware. You were living your life exactly like they forecasted, successful, stable, neutral. No digging. No asking questions. As long as you were predictable, you weren't a threat. And now I'm not predictable. Now you're asking questions. Just then, 3 sharp knocks at the front door. But not normal knocks. Not even human-sounding ones. 3 precise bangs. Like someone hitting the wood with a metal cylinder. Langley's entire posture changed. His hand froze on the table. All color drained from his face. They found us, he whispered. He moved faster than I expected for a man his age. He grabbed a small steel box from under the desk and shoved it into my chest. Take this. Go out the back. Do not open it until you're safe. What's inside? Your mother's final file, he said. Everything she died trying to protect. Everything they want to bury. Another 3 metallic bangs, louder this time. The front door lock clicked. Langley put a hand on my shoulder, urgent and shaking. Run, Caleb. Do not look back. Then he pushed me toward the back hallway. I sprinted. I didn't look back. But I heard it. The door burst open. 2 men. Boots. Voices. Langley shouting. He's gone. It's done. You're too late. Then a thud. A second thud. Silence. I ran harder. Out the back door. Down the alley. Into the street. Clutching the steel box to my chest like a life raft. Because for the first time in my life, I knew with absolute certainty. Someone wanted me erased. And I had just become something much worse than unpredictable. I had become aware. I didn't stop running until I reached 132nd and Lenox, crouched behind a dumpster that reeked of hot grease and something far less identifiable, the steel box digging into my ribs like it had teeth. I was soaked in sweat, lungs burning, mind racing. Langley was dead. I didn't need confirmation. The sound of that second thud would replay in my head for years. But he'd given me the one thing they didn't want me to have, the truth. I opened the box. Inside, a flash drive, a worn passport in Maria's name with a Venezuelan entry stamp, and a sealed envelope marked in her handwriting. To Caleb. When you're finally ready. My hands trembled as I opened it. My son. If you're reading this, then the lie is over. They'll come for you now, just like they came for me. I was part of Grafton. I helped build the system that stole you from me. I thought I was saving the world. Instead, I gave them the blueprints to break it. You were never meant to be just an experiment. You were meant to be the conscience they couldn't control. That's why they feared you. Inside the flash drive are the master files. Names. Codebooks. Genetic indexes. Evidence. Everything I smuggled out before they took me. Use it. Burn the whole thing down. But trust no one, not even the ones who say they're on your side. Especially them. I loved you every day of your life. Even when they told me you were lost. Even when they locked me away. Mom. I sat in the alley, hands shaking, heart breaking open like a grenade. All my life I thought I was just a regular guy. Turns out, I was the glitch in a machine designed to erase anyone like me. And now, I had the key to destroy it. I didn't go home. Not that night. Not for weeks. Instead, I vanished. Burned my SIM card in a public trash can in Queens. Wiped Ward's burner. Used the passport Maria had left me to slip through customs in Montreal under her maiden name. For the first time in my life, I wasn't Caleb Morgan. I was no one. Just a ghost with a flash drive full of secrets. The files on that drive? They were staggering. Thousands of pages. Internal memos, behavioral profiles, video interviews with child subjects, me among them. I saw myself at age 4, being tested for emotional impulse under simulated trauma. I watched a man I didn't recognize praise my stability under moral duress. Like I was a dog who hadn't flinched at a gunshot. I found the names of every family involved. The financial records. The handlers embedded in their lives. Some of those kids were now running tech companies. Sitting on judicial benches. In Congress. Engineered lives. Controlled trajectories. Except mine. I wasn't part of the network. I wasn't supposed to dig. I wasn't supposed to remember. But now I couldn't forget. From a cabin in Newfoundland, I made a decision. I wouldn't leak the files. Not yet. I'd target them. One by one. I started with a man named Victor Sloan, head of a nonprofit, Leadership Academy, for gifted youth. His name appeared on internal Grafton memos as candidate grooming lead. I sent his own emails to a whistleblower blog. His board resigned in 48 hours. Next was Olivia Parks, a biotech CEO whose company was secretly funding genome indexing on underprivileged infants. I sent her research partners the video of her referring to them as cattle pens. By the time the story hit the news, her investors vanished. She stepped down. Each time I took one of them down, I felt a little more like myself. Not the construct Grafton tried to build, but the man my real mother fought to save. The man she believed I could be. I never used my real name again. I left my fiancée behind. Left everything. I watched from a distance as my former life unraveled, slowly, quietly, mercifully. And one day I'll finish it. I'll hit the red button. Leak the entire archive. But not yet. Because there's one more name I need to find. The one name not on the drive. The one Maria circled in red in her final notes. Conductor. She'd written one line beneath it. He wasn't part of Grafton. He was Grafton. And I promise you, I will find him. And when I do, he'll know what it feels like to be watched. To be hunted. To have someone rip the mask off the machine he built. Because I was never supposed to exist. And now I'm the only one who knows how to destroy them. Tick. Tock. I'm coming.